Hello, today we're going to be talking about my favorite albums of 2023. We're trying to make it really quick because honestly, I'm not very good at describing why I like something without really preparation. So I'm going to not describe too much, but I'm going to just tell my list. And I definitely put some thought into it, but don't take it too personal. And maybe if I forgot an album, maybe I didn't like it, or maybe you should suggest it. Um, I guess some albums I missed first. We have the Earl Sweatshirt Alchemist type project. I didn't really listen to. We have Maps. I didn't really listen to. We have like McKinley Dixon. I didn't listen to. I didn't listen to Arm& Hammer. I didn't listen to George Clanton. I did listen to Lahai, but it released too late, I think, for me to care too much. I didn't listen to King Gizzard. I didn't listen to Swans. I didn't listen to Mitski. I've only listened to Mitski once, and I don't know why I didn't listen to Mitski, but I was listening to Bury Me Out at Maker Creek a lot this year, but I didn't pay attention to the new record for some reason. I missed the Sprain record. I missed the Christian Michael Hader. I missed a bunch of other stuff, Liturgy, um, and some other stuff. Whatever. It's too bad. Stuff I did listen to, but didn't really make my list was Carly Rae Jepsen with "The Loveliest Time." I liked it, but I didn't like it like more than the last record. And it was kind of funny how this one released pretty sure the same day as Utopia released, and also "The Loneliest Time" released on the same day that Midnight's dropped. And it's kind of weird how she's releasing on days that these big artists literally drop. Odd Eye Circle with Version Up. This is an EP. I was definitely hyped onto this one, and I found it really fun, and but not as good as maybe their full length LP, Max and Match. We have Caroline Polachek with Desire and Want to Turn Into You, which is also a fun little pop record. Not my pop album of the year, even though it was. I think it's definitely some people's literal album of the year. It's not mine. I didn't bump it as much as I should have, even though I do recognize it's great. I just don't think it's my type of um, something I could like love and bump. Why am I saying bump like that? That's like what the fuck? Holy moly, my vocabulary, man. That is not what I'm gonna listen to. But I like and love. But I definitely listened to it, and I did enjoy it a lot. But it's not my pop. I think I have a bunch of other pop albums. This is my I just spoke about 3 pop albums in a row. Wow. We also have Live at Bush Hall by Black Country New Road. I love Black Country New Road, and this release is sort of reassurance and another great track. A lot of great songs, and I was literally listening to this by downloading live performances in the past before it was on streaming services, and I liked it then, and I liked it now, and it's pretty awesome. We also have Lil Yachty with "Let's Start Here." It released early, which is probably why it's on this list, but I definitely enjoyed it at the time, and I'm not the biggest fan of actually Pink Floyd, to be honest, and I like this, so it might be a little bit of an introduction to this psychedelic rock genre for me, a little bit more. Next, we have Abriction with Interstates. I know they released another album with in a collab with Sadness that people talk about a little bit more. But this one here, I was listening to it a lot when going to work, and it just feels like an album I should enjoy when it's dark out, either early morning and or late at night, while like on the bus or something. And it works well with that though. The first 3 songs, it they're long, but I just really I was sort of addicted to the sound of them, and I felt myself even when like sleeping. I just wanted to hear that type of stuff. when falling asleep, which is pretty insane. Next we have underscores with wall socket, which is very fun. Little sort of, it feels very Gen Z. It feels very young. Um, Small town. It's wild. It's great story writing and bunch of characters and sounds. I think maybe it's not on the list because it's sometimes a bit too jaunting and too melodies are a little too experimental for me. So it's sometimes a little bit it sort of hits a cringe nerve on maybe like for example the intro to Johnny Johnny Johnny. Um, I it's sort of like sort of hits me weird and kind of makes me embarrassed, which I think that sounds really harsh to say, but I don't know. It was definitely fun, but I think I need to like grow up more to enjoy it. Because I a lot of people really love it, and I did like it, but I didn't love it enough to be in my top 10. Next we also have Utopia by Travis Scott. I just got to recognize it for being one of the biggest um, releases of this year. And like when you think of 2023 releases, not this year, it's 2024. I'm releasing this video late, but it was sort of the big release, and I listened to it when it came out, and I listened to it a little bit, and I like Kanye, so it was definitely up my alley. Maybe I don't like it as much as Rodeo. I like it more than Astroworld, I guess. Some songs, I mean, like just through the consistency, I think is better. But is this gonna be something I'm gonna return to? Yeah. And that's why I feel like it's great, it's fun, and it's probably the most mainstream pick out of out of everything else. I mean, nothing else released to in the mainstream. I guess that was really big. Um, then we also have Guts by Olivia Rodrigo. I really liked Sour when it came out, and this one I think it does better. And that's really all I have to say. It's great, and yeah. And then we have Sufjan Stevens with Javelin, and Sufjan Stevens was somebody I know is like great and legendary. Has a great big discography. However, I never really delved into it yet, except for this year, which I start listening to Illinois, and even though it's a long album, I guess, and I'm not that long, but like it's over an hour. Not That's not really my cup of tea to listen to like over an hour albums, but everyone, it's a very popular album, and I listened to it a lot this year actually, and at the same time actually, then he literally dropped singles in the album. So I sort of accidentally attended the album release, even though I'm not really the biggest fan. I mean, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Sufjan Stevens. Like, I listened to OK Evergreen and stuff, and like I listened to the album when it came out, and it was, I mean, Goodbye Evergreen. My bad. Not OK. But yeah, great tracks, and it's a beautiful record. You get these acoustic moments that build up into the big, you know, production marvels, and it's pretty awesome. It sort of makes it out of my top list, but it's probably one of the best albums on this list in terms of like objective types of deals. Like I think it's just produced crazy and it sounds awesome. I just didn't. I think maybe I released too late, and I think I had other albums that I preferred more and listened to more. So not saying that the albums I guess above it are better, but they were more of my favorite. Next we have 3D Country by Geese. 3D Country by Geese. You know, after I heard that first couple of tracks, I was sort of hooked, and it's just super fun and easy to listen to, and that's really it. They seem like a fun group. And then we also have Girl with Fish, and these two type of out these 30 Country and Girl with Fish, they kind of edge out of my list, but I definitely like them. So think of them as like 11th and 12th. Girl with Fish, Feeble Little Horse. I'm big on that sound, and it sort of merges things together really well. It's a very short album. It, you know, I love sound, and I love, you know, slacker rock, shoegazy, and then you got some hyper poppy, and it's pretty awesome. Great album from the duo. That's really all I have to say. And now we have number 10. Number 10. Weird pick. Gaburger by Jezebel Gaburgly. And like I said here before with Girl with Fish, I love sound, and I did listen to this a lot just because I think it's just it's bedroomy, and maybe it's not as well put together as something like Girl with Fish. But Girl with Fish is like what, 20 minutes. This is definitely longer, and you have some great tracks. I don't know. It's sort of weird album to describe, and I don't think a lot of people have listened to it too much. But it sort of filled that. It feels young. If the albums are pretty. It just feels like a teenager made them, and they're super fun, and they're really nice. And I love the album to make it my top 10. Next, we have After the Magic by Paranul. You know, big Korean shoegazy emo type thing. Very awesome. I've been a big fan now. I think after this album, it sort of cements his discography a little bit, and I really enjoyed it. After the Magic. Next we have That Feels Good by Jessie Ware. This is probably my top pop album of the year. When it came out, I I remember listening to it for the first time, and I really just remember how polished and great it all sounded. It's a little bit maybe one-dimensional, I guess, but it really does this disco pop sound really well, and she sort of stands out as like the pop queen to me right now, just because of how great it is. And I know Lightning is sort of this momentum stopper, but I still think it's a good track, and everything else is pretty good as well, and it's a super fun, my pop album of the year, I think. Next we have an EP from Maruja, Knocknaria. I'm a big fan of Black Country New Road, as you may have known. It was my album of the frick. Ants from Up There is probably my favorite album of all time. Just because of how it sort of changed my thoughts about music, I guess. It was that life-changing album for me. And Knocknaria sort of captures the sounds of Black Country New Road in sort of a different, more atmospheric, more aggressive. While Black Country New Road is a little bit more, chamber poppy, a little more like Arcade Fire. Knocknaria felt a little bit. It had more grit to it, so it's not like exact. I don't like it just because it's the same, but it sort of had this post-punky feel, but also a little different, and it's a great EP, and I'm excited for their full release album. Next we have Slow Tie with Ugly. I didn't really like his album before, I think. Nothing Great About Britain. I wasn't really a big fan of it, but this one, it was different, and I think it was an improvement, and it was a great song. It released earlier this year though. and I think I listened to it throughout. I literally listened to it all the time this year, and it's probably one of my most played because it's easy to play. It felt easy to play, and I always wanted to play it. But yeah, Ugly, great, great album. Of course, it's my number six. Next we have Hell Mode by Jeff Rosenstock this year as well, along with Sufjan Stevens. I was sort of discovering Jeff Rosenstock. I was listening to a lot of Worry, and that was like my craze. I was listening to a lot of Worry, and I really liked that album. And then this came out and like sort of released when I was getting into Worry, and I sort of so similar to Sufjan Stevens. I was kind of accidentally witnessing an album rollout, and it's pretty awesome. It's Jeff doing Jeff things, and it sort of hits, and it doesn't feel like a decline in quality at all, and it's super fun. It's Jeff. It kind of makes you feel like a child, like he feels like, he feels like this irresponsible uncle of yours, you know. I don't know, just his look and like the way he names his songs and albums, and I don't know. It's just awesome. That's really it. That's all I gotta say. Number five. All right, number four, Scaring the Hose, JPEG Mafia, Danny Brown. Maybe I didn't listen to it as much as I would want to, but I feel like I'm gonna listen to this out throughout the years, just because I love JPEG Mafia. Like heck, I I wrote like the only person I quoted in my shitty university application was JPEG Mafia, and which is kind of cringe, but I'm definitely a big fan, and I was also getting into Danny Brown this year, and I forgot to talk about Quaranta too, which was probably deserves my honorable mention, but it just came out so recent, so I guess it didn't, but it was pretty. Scaring the Hose. It's funny. It's um, internet witty. It's the you know it has so much funny bars, and the production is crazy, and it just feels awesome, and probably like objectively great because it's just so much texture it has, and I love it. Number three, After the Night by Parano, the only person with two releases in the top 10. So this is a live album, and similar to Live at Bush Hall, I was listening to this before it came out on streaming services, and I'm very glad it came out on streaming services because I don't know, it's just easier to access. I guess I don't have to download files and stuff and upload them and all that stuff. But it, while I don't think the songs, the performances here sound objectively better than their album, their corresponding album versions, it feels still in the moment, and it definitely it's recorded like I'm there. It being a live album, I it's like all the hits, and then it's this 46-minute, big track 46 version of this originally like 9-minute version song, Into the Endless Night, and it got these fan clips, and it's just so epic, and it's a great album and track, and just it feels like if I was there, but I'm not, but it makes me want to be there, and I don't know, something about it, and the cover and the sound. You just think of this, the black and the stadium, and then you got all these his friends up there who are also in the shoegaze. You have like Broken Teeth and Della are up there, and some other people are performing with him, as backup, I guess. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I guess I don't know. I just was listening to it a lot this year, even though it is a long album. But it is. It took my number three. Um, Now we have number two, which is actually "Today I Laid Down" by Black Market Cart, aka Kai Wesner, R.I.P. Um, is sort of maybe as a recency bias, but I because I didn't I only listened to it when the Brad Taste in Music video where it came out, but it's definitely like my style. It it feels like if the album is so personal, it's not like it's definitely not better than something like Scaring the Hose, or it's not as polished as like That Feels Good, for example, but it just felt so personal, it felt so human, and it felt so like my thing, you know, which is why it receives number two. And it I don't really like recognizing prodigies, I guess. Like, I always hate hearing about these whatever random Asian prodigy, blah blah blah, whatever. Like, there's gonna be a billion of those, but I feel like with Kai Wesner, 15 years old, 2008, like younger than my sister, like it felt like I was actually he was different because it's not like prodigy in some sort of technical sense, but it felt like in an artistic sense he had potential to like make something like music that connected with people a lot, and I am definitely sad about that. And it sort of made me love this album a lot. Like, he can also like he also probably, you can hear his influences. The album, the album definitely has its influences. Like, for example, um, first track, "Good Morning Text," which is a great track, probably my favorite track of the album. It has the same synths as Car Seat Headrest's "Beach Life and Death," and I definitely heard that one was first, but and maybe its production isn't the best, but it's human, and because it's not maybe because it's it feels raw and bittersweet, and uh like the vocals maybe are a little bit deadpan too, but that still feels like it feels still like him. And like, I don't really want to put thoughts into him like I know him, but I feel like that's just the way it should have been. And yeah, a lot of talk about my number two, and then number one, which I'm probably not going to talk about too much because I'm not going to talk about it at all. It's actually "Soft Scars" by Yule. I don't really have much else to say about that, but I loved the album, and I this is my first album from Yule, but it was, I feel like every sound, it felt so every song felt so creative, and it felt awesome, and sounds turned into sounds, and it deserved my album of the year, even though I don't really see too much people talking about it as well. But I don't know, it just felt the most creative, and I loved how everything sounded. You know, the 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 futurism, this noise, you know, dream pop, whatever, shoegazy, glitch pop type thing, psychedelic, whatever. I think it just streamed well, and it sounded good, and that's really it. What else can I say? It's my album of the year, and maybe I won't be listening to it in 30 years, of course, but right now, what's most important is that 19-year-old me, um, or 18-year-old me throughout the year, had this album, you know, I mean, loved this album, and it was his album of the year of 2023. And that's really it. That's all I gotta say. Thank you for watching. Um, yeah.